Hi, my name is Christine Harrod.
Hello, I'm Azaria Garris.
Hi, I'm Rainy Small.
Hello, I'm Zaya Bacchus.
And hi, my name is Vaya Robinson.
And this is our final DPI on the Human Flow documentary.
I focused on script, and there was really no script since it was a documentary, but I did notice that there was no narration, which is usually common in documentaries, and I thought that that was really interesting just because the director relied on the personal accounts of the people that they were interviewing to drive the story. And I kind of enjoyed that a little more. I don't know why. Like narration would have been like helpful, I guess, just to understand the setting and like what was going on. But after a while, after listening to everyone's stories, you kind of like understood what was going on. And I enjoyed that just because they were talking to like real life people about their real life experiences. And the documentary as a whole was a very eye-opening and very sad documentary. So relying on those accounts was a good move, I think, on the director's part, being that there was really no script.
I agree. And also, like another thing was the quotes that he included like throughout the documentary. One of them really stuck with me. It was by a Palestinian poet, I think. And the quote was like, you killed me, and like you, I forgot to die. And I thought that was like really powerful for some reason.
Also, one of the dialogues from, I can't remember his name, he was a former astronaut. Towards the end of the documentary, he said that unfortunately there's a lot of evil people on Earth, and ultimately we should just send them all into space. That made me laugh a little, but it's a very serious situation as well, because we're on this world, it's good versus evil, and unfortunately a lot of evil people are in leadership positions, and that's why people were migrating. That was the whole point of this documentary, because they were being displaced by evil people. And to move forward, I did actors and casting. It kind of goes into what you were saying about the script. There is no narration, and it was just free flowing. So the actors were themselves. It wasn't a docudrama where it's a dramatized movie based off of real events. No, this was an actual occurrence. And so it made this more realistic. It just put it in a different perspective of people telling their own stories from their own mouths. We caught the real glimpse of what was going on at the time in real time. And also it makes it more valid. It's a primary source versus a secondary source, because it's coming from the actual people who experienced it themselves.
I can go into camera work and editing now, because like I feel like how we were saying the actors are themselves. I also found it interesting that Ai Weiwei, the director of Human Flow, this documentary, he was actually in the film quite often. It would show him recording or just him talking to people, or it would like show from his camera perspective. And I thought that was interesting, because it was like we saw the director interacting, but also when we switched to his camera point of view, it felt like as audience members, we were able to be there and in the action. I also noticed that like a lot of the shots like that were shot like documentary style from Ai Weiwei's camera, they were like they were always or almost always centered in the middle, and like it wouldn't be stable, or sometimes it would be stable, or sometimes it would be unstable, but most times it was always in the center of the action, and you would see refugees or migrants walking towards us, or the camera will be following them. And I just thought it was like another way to like really put the audience, the viewer, right in the action. Because that, along with another point that I'm going to bring up, really just builds on like the tension and makes us feel uncomfortable, makes us feel, it's a powerful like effect because it takes us to the emotions and the feelings that those refugees are feeling in that moment. I want to bring up like one specific scene that was kind of close to the beginning. It was the scene where there were just different refugees like centered in the middle of the shot, and the camera just focused on them for like a couple seconds, probably like 10 seconds. And it was just silence, just looking at the each of the characters or each of the people, sorry. But I thought that was a powerful shot just because like it was just uncomfortable kind of, but it was beautiful to look at these people, and like it forced us to realize that these people are just like us. They're the same as us, just wanting a better life for them, for their family. And I think that was a very significant scene within the documentary. And yeah, I think I noticed that he also, Ai Weiwei, the director, he also, like after he interviewed different people, he would like focus on their face for a very long time after. And I think that was just to capture raw emotion as well. It kind of reminded me of the Spielberg shot.
I also noticed those shots, like when he was interviewing the women that just escaped the bombing, and the camera just stayed on that woman for so long, like 30 seconds after she finished talking. And that was just like a lot. Like that was a very powerful thing because she was so emotional after saying that, and just capturing that raw emotion, like you said, was a good tool.
I'm gonna talk about the music. I don't think there was like any legit songs, but overall, the instrumental kind of went with the mood of the whole documentary, which was mostly somber and very intense. And sometimes it was hopeful, sometimes the music was quiet when they were focusing on the people. Sometimes it was haunting when they were showing people at the border or just in terrible conditions, or the music was sad. And I felt like sometimes they would have no music, so you could really hear what's going on, like the helicopters or the waves or people just walking, or people working. And like when the camera would pan over the country and you could see the people in tents, you could hear like the fire cackling or babies crying. And I felt like that all just made it more surreal and made it more intense. It was almost like an ASMR. Like you could hear everything that was going on, and it all made you focus on what was happening on the screen and what the people were doing.
I agree. And to like add to your point, I think I kind of noticed that in between, like you said, there would be like busy scenes with no music, and like people are talking, everyone's like moving, or like even like when they were in the river, like the water was rushing. It would be like really busy, chaotic scenes. And then like the next scene after that would be like just like a still shot of like the water and some serene music. And I think that was a good technique used by Awele to kind of just break up the chaos and like help the movie or the documentary as a whole to not be like so chaotic. Like it was spaced out and paced, which was nice. It gave the audience or the viewers like a break every now and then.
The various settings were just the different borders that they were trying to enter, but all of them were closed, like the Croatian, Turkey, I believe the Greece border too, the Jordan border, and costumes. I guess I wouldn't really say their costumes, but like the clothes that they wore, you could tell that they were just very dated. And it was just like really anything that they could bring with them or fine or that they were given by the UN organizations or any aid organizations. They had a big like hygiene crisis most of the time. So they washed their clothes if they could in like a bucket. I know in at one of the borders, like it constantly rained for since they had arrived. So then everyone was completely soaked, and I'm sure that that had negative effects on hygiene and just, played a part in them not being able to wash their clothes, get clean, things like that. But yeah, you could just tell that these people, they really didn't have anything. They left everything and came to nothing because none of the countries, or not none of them, but a good majority of the countries were closing their borders and not letting them in. And then a lot of people were saying when they would be interviewed, like, everyone ignored us, the police, the UN organizations, like nobody helped, nobody asked if we were okay. So they were just left to fend for themselves. And it was clear in like all measures in their appearance, and how they carried themselves.
Also, to add to that, a few more locations were Afghanistan, Italy. It wasn't really shown that much, but it was a country that African refugees fled to, the various refugee camps. And also to add on to the costume portion, I noticed that some of them, well, I would say a good majority of the documentary, I didn't see many refugees with clothing that was dirty. Even though they didn't or may not have had a lot of clothes, I kind of expected it to look, with more maybe dirt stains, mud stains, or different types of stains. But a lot of them did have clean clothing, and that would add on to their human dignity, so it would make them not seen as animal-like as some people may view refugees, because some of them were, viewed as less than human. One of the refugees were saying how they were called boat people and a various of other degrading terms. So that does add on to their pride, their human dignity, like I said, and gives people a more respect for them. And also, one of the little girls, what was her name? Let me see. Towards the end, Yamama Al-Awad, she had on a North Face jacket that was very clean and put together. So yeah, that I feel like that was an important aspect to the documentary.
What do you guys think about the film in relations to like the environment and population issues?
Personally, I've always known that like there were population issues, but looking at this film, it showed me just like it's way worse than I thought it was. Like I had an idea, but what I was thinking, it doesn't even compare to what's actually going on. And the worst part about it is like it's very few countries who will allow these people to seek refuge, the refuge that they need, the safety that they need. Like everyone kept constantly saying throughout the whole film, you don't just leave your country for no reason. You don't leave your country, just because something didn't go your way or you just don't like it there. Like these people, they're escaping from death. And all of these countries are just, they're divided. They're telling them, well, you can't come in, but we can send you back and send you aid. And whenever you want to come here, you don't have to have a visa. Like that's supposed to be some sort of, I guess, silver lining to them not being able to enter their borders.
To me, I didn't know I didn't have an idea of what countries were accepting refugees and what countries refugees were coming from, but I did notice that a few of the countries that people were fleeing were also receiving refugees. So like Gaza, Pakistan, and Turkey, they were a few of the countries that had refugees fleeing from their country themselves, but people were also going there to seek asylum and to seek peace, to escape from their own country's war-torn environment. So, and then those countries, I noticed that a few of them were taking on large amounts of refugees that were maybe 1/3 of their population or a vast majority of their population, and they were already strained, maybe had a lack of resources themselves. They weren't like United States or China or France or Great Britain. Those countries had less than the world powers, I would say. So that was interesting. I've never thought of it in that aspect. I did know that a few of these countries did have refugees seeking asylum, but never to this scale.
Yeah, I feel like documentaries like this really make you think about what we have at home and the things that we have access to versus the fact that they had to leave their home and they're trying so much just to get a normal life and move with their family and provide. But what would you guys rate the film?
10.
Yeah, I would give it a 10.
I would give it a maybe a 9. Only because like I started to lose a little bit of interest towards the end.
Same, so 9.
Is there anything else that anyone wants to add?
I think the psychological impact of the film was just trying to get, well, we saw the psychological impact of the refugees, and I feel like that had an impact on anybody who watched it, or hopefully it had an impact on anybody who watched it, to just see like the devastation. And like you said, it makes you think about what you have at home. And like I think it was the Princess of Jordan, I really liked the point she had when she was like, it's important for us never to like become immune to suffering or like to people's hardships, because that's when we kind of lose humanity. And as you see, we don't really feel like, we have to help them or we should help them. It's just like, oh, okay, like this is happening. Okay, it happens all over. And that's just what it is.
I would like to add another part. One of the quotes, I can't remember it exactly, but it was basically saying, no matter where you go, the skies, the mountains, villages, no matter where you go on earth, there's nowhere to escape human destruction and turmoil. And this documentary really captured that quote, because you just see the many countries that are denying refugees access and a place to escape from. And you see the many countries that people are fleeing from. And then you see how the US has had an impact or an influence on these countries going to war, having civil wars, and being destroyed. So yeah, there's just nowhere for us to seek asylum or peace ultimately, and that's very disheartening. That's very depressing if you think of it that way. Yes, some people are more fortunate than others, but when we do think of it as one population or us as one people, we are in a very terrible place in history. Maybe more so because of social media, like one of the people said in the documentary. Information is being able to be spread more, so there's more awareness. So I think it psychologically impacted me, at least on many levels, in many different ways. I'm also a mother, so it hit on a different level. Just imagining going through that with my own child, it was very sad, disheartening. Like Christine said, it made me be more grateful today for what I do have.
Now, out of all of the films that we've watched, I don't know if it's been like 5 or 8, do you think this would be towards the top of your list, towards the bottom of your list, or in the middle as being like, you know, one of your favorite ones, or one of the ones you thought was really good?
I feel like for me, it'll be like somewhere in the middle because it wasn't like one of my favorites, or it wasn't my favorite, but I think it's definitely memorable. Like I'm gonna remember a lot of that documentary for a long time. So yeah.
I agree. I would say it's in the middle, and I definitely will remember it. It has a long lasting impact on me.
I agree.
Yeah, I say it was in the middle too. I think Parasite was probably at the top of the list for me.
Same, Parasite was my number one, and this movie would probably be in the middle as well.
Well, thank you for listening to our podcast about human flow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.